welcome to discussions of music, healing, and consciousness with your hosts, Chris Noble and Bill Perotzman. On this podcast, Chris and I offer a spontaneous, ongoing conversation about how music is intertwined with healing and consciousness. Our first season helped lay the foundation and build some of the superstructure for what we want to do here in Season 2, where we'll be welcoming some intriguing guests, going deeper into ancient mysteries and wisdom, and cultivating your background knowledge and curiosity. We hope these discussions will inspire your own study and practice of the musical and healing arts, and that your contribution to advancing world consciousness will be satisfying for you and transformative to those around you. Let's get started.
Yeah, I mean, so Bill, I mean, the reason I was even texting you this morning and saying, yeah, we should talk about this humming, is because it started with this breathwork event on Saturday, and at the climactic moment of a breathwork workshop, let's call it. This happens a lot during breathwork. Usually, the work part of breathwork is usually in the beginning, because it is kind of sometimes challenging to just breathe consistently and with a certain rhythm for a long period of time actually can be challenging. But then you get into that rhythm, and then after 10, 15 minutes of it, you're in it and it's really easy. And then it becomes very, very powerful. And so around like the 15 minutes to half an hour is really when people start to go through massive transformation typically. And we would encourage, and we were playing music quite loudly at the time so that it created a safe environment for people to yell, scream, or yawn, or burp, or whatever physical sounds and whatever your body needs to release. You can then do that. And sound is honestly one of the best ways, with maybe the combination of movement and breath, to release stuck emotion, subconscious programs that are still running around, dictating a lot of our life, and
I agree with you.
So on and so forth, right? Trauma, etc., emotional baggage, just anything like that lots of it can get released through sound, through breath, and all that stuff. But I was really, it was really interesting to see how much people were using sound, specifically like the voice, to get that out there. So that's what kind of got me into this, thinking of like, yeah, why is it such a natural inclination for us to just like use our voice to emphasize emotion sometimes, but also to help move that emotion? And just as an example, when something is really pleasurable or delicious, why do we always kind of go like, that's nice. Ooh, like it's like a universal sound. You eat, like, let's say a delicious dessert, right? What's that in, like that primal noise? Almost every human, I'm thinking like when I was back in Italy, every meal I had created a sound for me that was usually, oh my God, but it was very much a kind of a sound, like just, wow, this is so delicious. And my body needs to make a sound to really appreciate this fully. And it's going to sound like, So why do we do that, right? And that's kind of what got me thinking about what we could talk about today, and the power of the voice, the power of sound, and even something specific like humming.
I'm thinking of the dinner scene from What About Bob? Which is, it's an amazing comedy. But if you haven't seen it, if you're listening right now, it's probably on YouTube by this time. Take the time, go out there, check it out. It's Bob responding to a pretty pedestrian meal with all of the amazing sounds that you've described about eating in Italy, right?
Why is it also, it's Italy? It's got to be Italy every time.
It's got to be Italy, right? Well, I mean, Italy's got to be a gustatory extravaganza,
It is.
Which is
like, yeah.
Eat, pray, love, right? That was the first stop. So,
yeah. There's amazing food hotspots on this planet, and Italy is certainly one of the
definitely one of them.
Yeah.
So humming. Well, let's see. Last week or two, there was a study about social singing and how important that is. It's not a new study, but it got people's attention because they have a new graphic, right? It's the brain and color and all kinds of stuff. People are like, that's a thirst trap for people who love that stuff. So social singing, it turns out to be really great. But I imagine that around the dinner table, expressing your delight in the meal, oh my gosh, this is so good, right? The things you say is a form of shared music making. right? Which is amazing. And it's related to that lower brain kind of stuff, the brainstem stuff, where we get such pleasure. The smells, the aromas, um, the delicious taste and smell are interrelated in that amazing way. And then bringing sound into that, which is also a very brainstem kind of a thing. What is it? Fight the famous five F's. We talked about them before: fight, flight, flee, feed. There it is. Number 4, feed, and mate, because we'll keep this family friendly. So yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. So I get it, and combining sound with that, and it makes sense that in the breath work, obviously in the breath work, making sounds. Have you ever tried like leading people to sing spontaneously or hum, not with words, but just like like creating melodies together, the way that like Jacob Collier does in concerts?
Yeah, well, Jacob Collier, huge inspiration for that, absolutely.
Right?
And beyond that too, I think before I discovered, or before Jacob Collier came into my life, I still encouraged people at my music meditations and other events to hum along or just sing along some of the affirmations on the lyrics, but especially even on Saturday, I didn't even, I was actually, it was really funny, the music meditation portion of the breathwork, which is after the breathwork. So we did about an hour of breathwork, which is pretty intense. If anyone who's actually done breathwork, to do it for a full hour is like, whew, but that's the whole point of the event. That's why we only do it 4 times a year. It's a very special, big breathwork event. And anyway, during the music meditation portion, everyone's typically lying down and just processing and just being in meditation after the breath work. So I was leading, just playing soft piano, and then I did start to sing tones like ahs and oohs and just different vowel sounds. And one of my co-facilitators, she sang in with me as well, and we kind of harmonized, and it opened up an invitation non-verbally. And when I say non-verbally, I mean, we didn't communicate with words, that people could, of course, join. Now, we did say at the beginning of the event, like, always just please feel free to join. Always feel free to join in with any sounds. Like, we really did encourage people, like, use your voice, your vocal tones. This is an amazing healing device built into your body. But anyway, when we were doing the toning, let's call it, at the end of the music meditation, it did invite a lot of the other participants who were just lying down in meditation to tone with us. And I could hear in the audience a lot of oohs and ahs, and they were kind of like copying us and then going off into their own version of what we were doing, and finding their own sound in a way that would really feel good in their body while they're laying down in meditation. And so just that alone was absolutely powerful. So yeah, I do that a lot because it's also really helpful to not have affirmation at certain points, because the non-English or the not having words actually allows the sounds to then mean whatever they need to mean for you.
Sure.
And it leaves almost more room for interpretation.
Sure. It opens the ineffable space instead of, effing it. With
like
language. There's a new term for you. Don't F my space, bro.
Is it ineffable? Well, yes. It's effable.
Yes, it's effable. Welcome to Effable Space. So before we riff on this too far, so how does all this relate to humming, which I know you've taken a deep dive into this morning?
Yeah, so just the sounds in general, right, are so profound. Why are they so profound, and why does it feel good? Specifically, when I was starting off this episode talking about when we experience pleasure, why does it typically sound like a hum, right? Like a when I'm writing it out in text, it's M, right? When you're writing it out, why is that sound with the mouth closed? Why does that feel good? First and foremost, there's some ancient, these again are going to go cross-cultural for many thousands of years here, but in the ancient yogic traditions, there's a type of humming technique you can use to alleviate headaches, as a very kind of pragmatic example. And one of the ways they teach that is to close your mouth, obviously, but also to put your teeth together like that. So you put your teeth together and your mouth, and then you hum like that. But now that your teeth are together, as you're probably feeling, it's creating even more vibration in your jaw and in your whole skull, so that when you have a headache, it's going to create more of a sonic massage for that headache in your brain area or in your skull. And then what you get to do is you get to experiment with the pitch, right?
Oh,
So
sure. Yeah.
depending on the pitch, remember, sound is a series of long or short oscillations, right, of sound. So when you have a higher sound, it's a shorter oscillation, and if you have a lower sound, it's a longer oscillation, which just means it's going to vibrate different parts of your body differently.
Right.
So you get to then experiment with this, with the pitch of that. What pitch is going to help vibrate that part of your brain to alleviate the headache? So then you kind of put your, your teeth together, your mouth together, and you go, and you kind of play around with that pitch, and then feel where in your body does that pitch lie, and then wherever it is causing discomfort in your body, you adjust the pitch so that it hits that area. And then once you do that, you're kind of laughing at that point. Now you've got a really amazing, almost like a massage tool that you've got that comes with your voice. So just that technique alone, it opened up for me just such an amazing healing tool that we have within ourselves, which is the voice combined with, manipulating different parts of your body to vibrate differently. Because now we're getting into like everything is vibration. So if we can start to manipulate things in a vibration way, wow, like we can do anything with that. So with that in mind, I don't know if you want to hop in here, Bill, but what I can do is also just give the audience some science as to what is happening when we hum, because outside of just this headache technique, like I was saying beginning, we just hum for so many different reasons, right? So if we can start to incorporate humming in our more intuitive way, there's a lot of scientific, we can talk about like chemical releases, endorphins, and other things that happen in our bodies that's really, really positive.
Well, of course, I have a big question about this, but first response to this is, if you get to choose your own frequency, your own pitch, that's really going to mess with the monofrequency people, right? Because for the first time, what we're able to say here is it sounds like there's science to support whatever frequency resonates for the reason that you need it, right? And maybe you're not able to hit, 432 hertz right on when you're humming, because the frequency that you want is 512 hertz. Who cares? Right? As long as it's resonating, that's the right frequency for you, right? And you shouldn't be all concerned with sitting there with your phone, your tuning meter, trying to hit a particular frequency as you hum. Have I got that right?
Absolutely. And here's the thing. So my current understanding and what I've been encountering recently.
Thank you, Maury. Okay, every time I say that, I have to thank Maury Zelkovich.
Thank you, Maury. I got to
current understanding.
Yeah, he's great. And my current understanding of this is that it's almost twofold. It's kind of like the paradoxical aspects of life in general, which it's kind of like there's no right or wrong. They're both kind of right, So we've got the idea of there's certain frequencies that have these very profound positive effects on the body. That is true. 432 hertz, as an example, profoundly important frequency found throughout nature, found throughout sacred geometry and sacred mathematics. That's just there. When we've done physical experiments with 432, it does resonate sand on a metal plate in a very geometric, symmetrical, and very clear way, versus something like a 440 is just not as clear. It's a bit more muddy. So we do know that there are frequencies that just have a very particular resonant effect. And on top of all of that, what matters arguably more is two things that are kind of interrelated, is basically your perspective on all of it.
Right.
And which kind of goes into your belief system. And then it's your intention behind it that is kind of arguably more important than the frequency itself.
Yeah, I agree with you about that.
Right?
I do.
So it's like those frequencies are important. I'm still going to do my music at 432 because it just feels really good for me. I really appreciate that. And other people seems to resonate too. And if you're getting something really profound off of 440 tuning, great. Because then it doesn't really matter. It's working.
Yeah. It's working.
It's working. So, that's kind of part of that paradox, right? It's like both are true. And with that in mind, it's like humming is going to be very much up to the individual, right? And maybe this won't even be something for you. Maybe It's not humming. It's what's the opposite of humming? Yelling,
Well,
maybe.
it's like open or closed mouth. Like
Right.
it,
Yeah.
and I'm very curious about this. Like, what is the why hum versus sing? Like, why closed mouth versus open mouth producing a tone? What's the difference there? And
Yeah.
that's really like the fundamental question about humming.
So I would say right off the bat with humming is you're creating a closed circuit. So if you think about it, right, you're closing your mouth, so it creates like a closed circuit of vibration.
Yeah,
And this is not something I read. This is kind of my intuition talking here.
I'm with you on that because the breath that you're using escapes through your nose, not your mouth, when you
Correct.
hum.
Exactly. Exactly. So you're not even now you're keeping, if there is any oxygen coming in, it's always going to come in through your nose, which is a better way to breathe anyway. So you're breathing in through the nose, and then there's and then so it's like circulating the air and the breath and the frequency and the vibration more in a circulation way. So it's creating that closed circuit, that circulation of vibration, and so it probably allows the frequency and the vibration to reach more parts of your body. When you yell it out, what's really amazing about that is you are expelling that sound. So yelling is so amazing for letting things out. It's
Yes.
like you need to let out that emotion. Primal yells, like grab a pillow, obviously, because most likely you're in a situation where you might not be able to just let out a gut wrenching scream or something. But at this breathwork event, people were letting that out. I mean,
Yeah.
it was also psychedelic, and we had some people were microdosing on mushrooms and stuff. So there was a very deep healing that was happening, and a lot of the time, it
Yeah.
really is powerful to let out yells. So that was happening as well. So humming, yelling, they're all great. It's like just choose your own adventure for whatever you need. So that's just my like hypothesis as to why humming has a certain effect versus yelling. And so just on the right off the bat, so what humming can do is one thing that it can do is lower your blood pressure and your heart rate. Okay, so what this article that I'll give Bill and he'll put it in the show notes here. It's by Andy and Jonathan Goldman from the website. I can't read it, but it's basically called Bowstrong Foundation. So they've done. I've heard these researchers from a podcast, and they've done quite a bit of work when it comes to sound healing and the research behind this. So the number one, lower blood pressure and heart rate. So what happens is slow-paced humming causes both our blood pressure to be significantly decreased as well as a decrease in heart rate. Thus, it promotes deep relaxation and it reduces stress, including reducing all those hormones associated with stress, such as cortisol. So that's one of the main things right off the bat, which is pretty profound. And I'm giving this because also just think about how busy we are in this Western world. These techniques get me excited because I feel personally, and I'm sure you probably feel similarly, Bill. And let me know is that I feel like we're bridges in a lot of this way. Like we're obsessed with these more alternative healing modalities, but we love to be plugged into the rest of the world and the rest of our friends and family who are maybe not as interested in this area, but certainly can benefit from it. And I love hearing these like basic scientific, reasonings as to why these things are profoundly helpful. Again, getting rid of releasing something like cortisol is just everyone needs that kind of relief. So if we can give you something, beautiful audience watching or listening, these little like a technique like humming, we can all do that. It's free,
Sure.
built
Yeah.
into your body.
Yeah.
You're at work and you need to add a little, decrease of stress, or you need to just before you get into another call or a sales meeting or something like that, just just start to hum and find that frequency and find that vibration that you need in that moment to just relieve some stress. And of course, there's
So
many other techniques, but yeah.
is there a duration for this? Like, how long does it take for a hum to have an effect?
That's a great question. In this study here, there is not a rate, but that would be a really interesting thing to know. So, just from my personal experience, I would recommend doing at least 1 minute. At least 1 minute is going to actually then kind of leave you in that buzzed state of having just given yourself this sonic massage.
Yeah.
Of course, any amount is honestly kind of great,
Yeah,
but
better than nothing.
better than nothing. But I would say at least a solid minute. And 5 minutes might be great, but this is a short exercise. You don't have to hum for a long period of time. I find sometimes after a meditation and a breath work where I'm feeling really, really delicious, feeling really good, I just start to hum for like a minute maybe after, just because it feels really nice. It's like a cat purring. It's the same
Yeah.
kind of.
Yeah. The same effect, really.
Well, exactly. So here's another cool thing. So it increases your levels of nitric oxide. So that's actually a molecule that causes what a thing called a vasodilation, which causes smooth muscle cells to relax.
Oh, cool.
This is like a positively affects and enhances circulation, which is obviously very profound, as well as increasing the amount of oxygen in our cells. That's amazing. That's what we get with breath work. Now, when we make a sound and vibrate any part of our body, this nitric oxide is released, helping to heal that specific part of your body. So this may be one of the reasons why many people report that humming helps them relieve headaches, like I talked about earlier.
Yeah, that makes good sense, because
Right?
stress, especially attention type headache, I'll try
Exactly.
that next time. People are going to be looking at me funny, but I'll give it a shot.
At the end of the day, though, right? Like these are the things that I'm kind of obsessed about making more normal, and just why not? And I think people can extrapolate this whole idea of having a chocolate gelato and yum yum
Right.
yum. That's so nice, and you just see someone not eating the gelato but still going yeah, and you're like, oh wow, they're clearly creating a sense of joy and some form of peace within them just by humming. Clearly, right? And
Yeah.
here's another thing. Here's another benefit. It's increased lymphatic circulation.
Oh, this is a good
So
thing.
great
Emotional
thing.
stability, right?
Correct, exactly. So you get rid of a lot of bodily toxins through the lymphatic system, toxins that can be quite damaging to your health. So, as noted, when you vibrate an area of your body through your own self created vocal sounds, you are also vibrating, massaging, and activating your body, especially your cells, your circulatory system, and your lymphatic circulation. So, once again, it's getting even more specific than just adding more oxygen to your blood, which is incredible. It's also enhancing your circulation and your lymphatic circulation, which is the detoxing aspect of your body too. I mean,
Is there, just because I'm curious, I wonder if there's any connection between the acupressure points and the meridians. Like if you could feel a specific meridian and a specific point on that meridian, can you hum into that?
why not?
Right?
Right? Have you? Are you familiar? I'm sure with what's it called? The tuning fork.
Oh yeah, the tuning fork things where you place the tuning fork.
Tuning or something. I forget the.
Yeah, there's names for all of this stuff.
Harmonic tuning. I forget what it's called, but anyway, yeah. And they're just using tuning forks and using your electromagnetic frequency toroidal field that we all are giving off, and they can literally tap into those frequencies and see which are in disharmony, which are in harmony, in concert versus out of sync, or so on and so forth. And I've had one friend who was oddly quite skeptical to these modalities, but was in such a challenging emotional state at this time. He was just like open to try anything at that point, and tried this tuning fork thing, and it had profound relief and an insight that came from that, just from interacting with the frequencies that our bodies are emitting naturally. So probably, yeah. Why couldn't a hum or a vocal tone tap into these other
Tap
parts?
into that, yeah. I'm going to climb up on my soapbox for a second, because I have been sensing recently a great anxiety in the energy field. I don't normally talk this way, people, so bear with me. But it seems to me, Chris, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, that we need big release right now. Our ability to sense the subtle energies is not available to us if we're carrying around big supplies of the not so subtle ones. And anxiety and that kind of stuff are part of that. Somebody that I was talking to last week, I think it was in a psychological, it was in a psychedelics supervision group, was saying, you know what, I really love ayahuasca because I love the purge. And there's a lot of purging that needs to go on. right? You mentioned that in the breathwork group. A lot of people just like letting out big energy. They need to purge from this stuff. And we've been carrying so much crap around for such a long time. And um, I guess it's not much of a soapbox, but I feel that as we go through this purging process, which is kind of where our world is right now, we'll get to a place where we're more resonant with the subtle frequencies, with the subtle energy that's there. And by way of encouragement, if you need to purge, please do that. If you're listening to this, please do that, because that will get you closer to this place where you're able to tap in to frequencies, to energy that is not as big as what you're experiencing right now. Um, you and I both have a friend who does, multiple ayahuasca journeys a month. That's fantastic, man. If that's what's doing it, do that, right? Uh, I will do maybe one big psychedelic journey a year because I need that much time to process and to integrate and to get back to where I'm ready for another one, right? There's nothing wrong with either approach. It's just being aware that we're all at different places in this coming awakeness, and that having to let go of our crap to get us more sensitive, more tuned in, is part of the process. So, lastly, by way of encouragement, if you're experiencing a modality that doesn't seem to be doing anything for you, don't give up on the modality. Uh, Stay with it, but find out if there's any other way of sort of letting go of stuff that's standing as a block between you and a more subtle experience. The difference between, like you were saying, between yelling and humming is a big difference. And it makes sense to me that if you need to yell, yell. What's that song? If you want to sing out, right? And then marry that with the more subtle practices as they come your way.
I love that, Bill. I'd love to add on to that because you're absolutely right. We need to release a lot, and I think what we're experiencing among many things right now as a collective is we're at a point where, thanks to the internet, we're more connected than ever, and we have access to more information than we have in maybe not forever in our history, but certainly in our most recent recorded and acknowledged history. And with that being said, we've got access to a lot of things that can cause us stress and anxiety, but also access to a lot of incredible healing modalities. I mean, almost infinite amounts of ways that we can heal ourselves, give ourselves the relief and also the nutrients that we need to continue and to expand and to grow and evolve, without completely losing and going into full despair of what's happening currently, which is easy to do, of course. And, that's the beauty right now, is that we have pretty much at this point an infinite amount of ways that we can move through this world now in a beautiful, harmonious way. And now it becomes more of a choose your own adventure kind of game that we're in.
Yeah, well said. It does, doesn't it?
Right? Because what's going to work for me is not going to be everything that's going to work for Bill and anyone else watching this, right?
Yeah.
We need to, and it's actually a really fun adventure, is to figure out, okay, well, what are the modalities that work for me? What are the things that I like? And here's the thing, some of them, like, it's going to require some aspect of discipline to do these things, but I don't think it's going to take much, because a lot of these, when you find the ones that really resonate with you, they're going to actually feel kind of fun.
Oh yeah.
And you're going to start to look forward to I look forward to breath work, because it's literally like, it's like looking forward to a cold beer, honestly, or a nice ceremonial little cannabis with your friends over a fire or something. It's the natural high that you get from these modalities becomes kind of the healthy addiction that can come with these beautiful modalities. So you got to find the ones that really speak to you, because that'll continue to allow you to do more and more and more of it into your life. And maybe right now we could just quickly bounce back things and modalities that we've come across that I think we both found particularly really helpful we can focus on what helps us release, or what were you saying? Detox, Bill? Was that?
Yeah, like a detox. Yeah. The whole thing of breath has always been curious to me, because as a breath practitioner from way back, you remember the Ujjayi breath?
Yes. Yeah.
So that was like, a big deal. And then there was the breath of fire, right? And then, after several decades, Wim Hof came along, and the whole thing on breath has been around for centuries, probably. And I love that there's so many varieties. You know, I think perhaps, Chris, and correct me if you disagree on this, but you said it. Our intention is the most powerful thing. So if you found a breath practitioner that told you to stand on your head and do, push-ups while you were breathing, and it worked for you, great, right? If that's your thing, go for it. Ujjayi breath, if that's your thing, go for it. There's, thousands of years of, I don't know, what would you call it? Anecdotal evidence at this point, or just like
Handwritten,
handwritten, like this is a good idea, people. Breathe with intent. It works. Sing with intent, hum with intent. It works.
Especially with things like we're talking about sound. Sound is literally the foundation of the creation of the entire universe.
In the beginning was the word, right? What did it sound like? I don't know, probably blah, but something, but it was sound.
Or whatever, right? And then what's probably almost like next in line of importance, at least for the human being, breathing, oxygen.
Yep.
Where does the word spirit, spiritus, breath,
yes.
all comes
inspiration,
from? Latin, etymology or whatever, and so it's like there's so many of these ways. One of the ways that I've loved over the last couple of years has been cold therapy.
Oh yeah.
Cold
water
plunge,
therapy. That whole thing.
Cold plunges, whether you can get into a natural body of water wherever you're living, or a cold shower or cold bath, a cold tub of water, whatever you want. But the cold is phenomenal if you're going through especially I find with really intense emotion and intense stress. Cold therapy is one of the best ways to just take you out of it because it's so intense. You can't think about anything else in that moment. It's so overpowering.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are like, that sounds like torture. I'm like, well, there is a little masochisticness to it because, yeah, it's not pleasurable, but then it is pleasurable because once you get into it, after maybe the first shock of the 15, 20 seconds, you find yourself in this deep meditation because you have to, because it's so damn cold. And then after that, you get out of that and your body is in a very different state. You typically come out of the water and don't even need to put a towel on for a little while because your body's just completely regulated itself now. And there's tons and tons of studies. Just go onto Wim Hof's website. He's got lots of great research material that you can look into of the benefits of that. But yeah, that's just one example. What else has come into your life, in the last while, Bill, that you find is great for just that release?
It's interesting that it changes over time.
Yeah.
I found, for example, that my desire for and response to cannabis has changed over the last 5 years. I wasn't a pothead, but I used a lot more of it then than I do now. And I'm not sure why that's changed, but I've noticed it. I'm still just as full of crap as I was before. So, I've still got plenty of stuff to let go of, but something's changed. And maybe it's the intent. Maybe offering the intent to heal also comes with a more subtle awareness, shall we say? And I'm interested to know, 20 years from now, people going to be will people still be doing cold plunges? The ones that are doing it now, like in 20 years, will you still be doing that? Or will you have some other thing that's come up that's different, that serves you in that place, whatever it might be? So to answer your question, though, directly, people have been singing the Om for years. And I'm thinking as I'm imagining the Om, which is all the vowel sounds, A-E-I-O-U, that it ends with it ends with the hum, the closed mouth, because you can't make an ooh without. But the M at the end can only be sung as a hum. Oh, you're mming on the end. And I suspect that there's some perfect reason for that, right? That's connected to the research that these guys are doing now that makes the Om that powerful.
So I heard on this podcast that the Om actually can represent the 4 seasons, and the 4 seasons, of course, can represent far more than the 4 seasons on this earth. It's more the 4 cycles of reality,
4 directions for Native First Peoples,
exactly right. And so the Om and the sound it kind of represents each part of that cycle, and not the they were saying represents the fall season, which is the everything is in the process of the death process, but then in winter it is the full death process, which is not a negative thing. That's our Western association with the word death is negative, but that's not a negative thing. And when it comes to the reality and the cycles of life, you literally cannot have the concept of life cannot be a concept without the contrast of death.
Sure.
So,
yeah.
Thank you, death, for giving us life. Right.
It's the biggest
Anyway,
vibration of all, right? Life, death. It's the big
exactly. Right.
the
And
0
so
hertz.
what they were saying was, well, here's the thing. So after the comes what? Silence.
Silence.
And that's the last part of the Om. It's
Right.
not the sound. It's the lack
silence.
of sound. Isn't that beautiful? It's like,
Yeah.
wow, that's such a cool cycle because it's then true. Because then how does it start again? The sound starts it again, right? Which is the starting of creation. Well, what's the end of creation? Silence.
Yeah. Yeah. Out of silence into silence.
Yeah.
Of course, there may be a lot going on in that silence that we can't measure because of our sort of 3D stuckness here.
Well, what is silence and sound? Everything is frequency. So when we're even saying sound, it's a bit misleading because sound and light are the same thing. They're just different ranges of frequency. We call sound that's from anywhere 20 to 20,000 hertz, right? That is what sound really is. And then everything else in the frequency spectrum falls into different phenomenon that we categorize with different words, but it's all the same stuff. It's all vibration and frequency.
Yeah, all vibration. And very necessary, organizing energy, I think, in our 3D universe. When you start to think about it in a more 5D way, in a not 3-dimensional way, vibration goes away. Like vibration doesn't happen when you're moving at the speed of light.
And vibration, I would assume, requires the phenomenon of time. And so if you transcended time, how do you have an oscillation anymore?
Right. And then what substance transmits the oscillation? Right.
And then your brain explodes.
Because all of a sudden it's dark matter and everything's changed.
Oh man,
so the other powerful thing that you're saying here, have you noticed how we're getting more and more into actual effective self-care versus where we were even 10 years ago?
Yes.
We no longer, we still do go to sound healers and psychics. There are people who are the in-betweens for us, but the teachers like Wim Hof even are teaching us how to do it on our own. And that is remarkable to me, because doing it for yourself is so much better than having to line up at the doctor's office, right? Or even call the doctor's office, which is a process now. If you can take care of these things, I mean, they should have signs as you're waiting in line. If you have a headache right now, people waiting in line, do this.
Yeah, the problem is, Bill, is you can't make money on that, my friend.
Well, it's not about making money. We've got better things to do than make money off the sick people, don't we?
Yeah, you're preaching to the choir, my friend. You're preaching to the
I know.
And you know what? Here's the best thing, you beautiful audience watching. I'm going to give you some more awesome reasons why humming would be so effective. Okay, here's another one. Increases levels of melatonin. Why do we like melatonin? Sleep, rest.
Sleep.
What do we not do nearly enough in this Western world? Sleep and rest.
Yeah. So tonight, as you and your significant other are falling into bed, hum together for a minute.
Yeah, and even take that even further, Om together. See what
Om
that
together.
Does. Because Om is a great sound to open and close anything. So when we do ceremonies, typically we'll Om at the beginning, at the end.
Yeah.
And as I've entered some sacred sites in my expeditions, we would Om before and after, and holy moly, it really does add a vibrational, again, opening and closing to it. So when you're with your partner, try that too. And if you really want to take it further with your partner, and this is going into maybe the tantric arts and things like that, but you can Om before and after lovemaking, and that's how that sound binds your love together and life force energy together. But here we go. So increased levels of melatonin. Humming releases melatonin, which helps us sleep. In addition, melatonin is a powerful free radical scavenger and wide spectrum antioxidant that works with our immune system and has anti-inflammatory effects. Thus, you can potentially enhance your sleep, your immunological system, your aging process, and a whole lot more through producing melatonin with your own self-care sound or your self-created sound. So once again, you're laying in bed trying to fall asleep, and I could have used this a couple nights ago. So now I'm going to start doing it, which is as I'm falling asleep to release these levels of melatonin, right? Like, why not? See how that
why
works.
not? I wonder if this is related somehow to snoring and how snoring might have beneficial effects that everybody is so annoyed, by the sound that they won't even investigate.
That's a really good point. I had never thought of that, but yeah.
I mean, let's get way out on the limb here. What else does it do? I mean, in addition to all these amazing chemicals and systems and stuff that's happening, what else can humming do?
Well, it releases endorphins, like endorphins that are basically your self-created opioids in the body, which are the feel-good chemical reactions. And
Absolutely.
it also helps us not only feel good, but reduces pain. So if you're in pain, physical pain, therapeutic humming, ow, oh, that hurts, like a cat. When they're actually dying or they've been injured, cats will purr. They're not just doing it when they're feeling good. They're doing it also when they're actually in pain. Yeah. And the purr is what can relieve. Actually, the purr also repairs tissue, apparently, and a bunch of other stuff. But here we go. So why most people hum when they feel happy is because it's actually releasing the endorphin. That's like a self-created opioid. But here we go as well. It's speculated that 2/3 of people hum when they feel good and are happy. Conversely, when we hum, we can help generate a feeling of being happy. So if we feel pain, humming also helps. And if we feel sad, humming also can help. So it's like that sounds to me like a regulator or an equalizer in a way, right? You have too little of something, you can hum more of it in. You have too much of something, you can hum it out of yourself.
So the hum is it's a flow state.
Yeah, kind of like water, right?
Yeah.
Water can be whatever you kind of need it to be. It flows into whatever state you need.
Wow. So what came first, the endorphin or the hum? Right?
Well, I would have to assume the hum only because everything is sound, right? So sound comes first. But then
okay, this is going to be crazy, but in languages that have a lot of closed sounds, French has a lot of closed sounds in it. There's lots of and there are other languages where the consonants in the open mouth sounds aren't as present. So are those generally happier people?
Well, you could
humming more.
you could look at like Sanskrit as an example, and there's a lot of humming tones in that language, and that language is pretty profound in of itself. And I would say that probably more people speaking Sanskrit are going to be feeling a little bit more positive, especially because that language was designed with sound in mind, versus English is completely different in terms of its not just the words itself, but the way it was created. So
the construction is for a different purpose almost.
We're talking about intention before, right? The intention of English was very, very different than the intention behind Sanskrit, as an example.
So forgetting about the sacredness of Sanskrit, it's also more healing. It sounds.
And there's a reason why a lot of these alternative healing modalities, and they're all explained in English. A lot of people are singing these things in English. I sing a lot of my affirmation songs in English. Obviously, that's my language. It's just what resonates. And then on top of that, at a lot of these events, we'll still throw in Sanskrit, because Sanskrit is it's universal. That's a whole other podcast, but the development of that language not only goes back to such ancient times, but there's really profound sounds that have had some scientific backing and research behind them that are absolutely incredibly profound. Just my own experience with Sanskrit is, I don't know why, but some of those sounds, they are extraordinarily powerful.
Well, the Om itself, Namaste, Nama, you have to
Namah Shivaya and all these other unbelievably powerful sounds. Here's another really fun thing from the hum. Back to the hum. Oxytocin. It's the release of oxytocin. Oxytocin is known as the trust hormone. When we make a sound with another, all the barriers that exist between us just disappear. The release of oxytocin may be an explanation for why our hearts and souls feel so nourished when we sing a song in a group, in a church or a temple or a similar situation. We know of no better way of creating harmony in a discordant group than by having them make sound together, particularly humming together. Wow.
This mirrors my own experience. For those of you who don't know, one of the highlights of my in-person talks is when everybody kazoos together. But it's absolutely true. Getting people to make music or sound together, whether it's drumming, kazooing, singing, humming, chanting, oming, it's so powerful.
Not only that, you just brought me to a memory of on Saturday at our breathwork event, we did a bit of movement activities before the breathwork, and also movement activities that involved everyone kind of intermingling with each other.
Yeah.
And they were really simple. We just walked around the room, and then we're given very basic directions, like just try to flow like water in between each other as you move through, and then feel free to make some eye contact and smile. And then we did a whole series of these different types of very simple movements and interactions with each other. And then at the end of it, he was like, okay, now move through each other as quickly as you possibly can, like you're an airplane, dodging each other. And everybody in that room, for whatever reason, I was so relieved, because I do this all the time with everything, but everyone started to add in sound effects for this movement. Like, it's your inner child. We're all adults here. And our inner children are obviously just like loving these activities, because we're just being playful, and people are starting to giggle because it's silly. It's like these exercises. It brings me back to like kindergarten, and some of the stuff we would do that, like in kindergarten, now we're repeating in some of these workshops, because it's so profound. And the meow silly sounds, I found, bonded a lot of the people at the workshop, because they were all giggling and laughing for these, like, why are we all just all of a sudden making plane sounds now, But we all were universally. It was really funny to see that.
A long time ago, in a workshop for an organization whose name I will not mention, but it was a 2.5-day workshop for those of you who have been to those kinds of things. And you might recall it's similar to an organization whose name starts with L, did exactly that. That was the mixer. And it was one of the most profound opportunities to know people in a new way that I've ever experienced in my life. So I'm so glad to know that it's being used more widely.
Yeah. And it's because, too, I think, like, people are really wanting, needing, and opening up to these things more than ever now. I think COVID, I have to go back to COVID as like this huge catalyst event.
Yeah, a catalyst.
That really got a lot of people, if not the vast majority of this whole planet, to reevaluate a lot of their life. And when in that reevaluation, I think people's health came to the forefront. And health is so multi-pronged and multifaceted. And as well as some of the suggestions that, let's say, maybe the mainstream is pushing on us as to our health, versus what some ancients perhaps might suggest, or some other cultures might suggest for our health. There's some things that are kind of coming at odds with each other. And that's beautiful too, because we're coming into our own realization that ultimately the best healing modalities and the ultimate healer is ourselves, right? Like, we are still the number one authority on our own health. And I think that's also been really helpful in the last couple of years, is kind of coming back into this, like, well, I know ultimately, I'm going to know what's best for me.
Right.
I can take suggestions from all these other people, these Bills and these Chris's on these podcasts, or the major health organizations that are suggesting things, my government, whatever you want. All those are suggestions, but you are ultimately the person that's going to decide what you need, because you know better than anyone.
And everything that is available helps you know more precisely. Like, you can really tap into your own with the information that's available now, with the current understanding that we have. You can really get in on what you need in a way that is profound and profoundly simple, I think. Chris, humming, for heaven's sakes. How hard is that?
And breath work. I gave this to my dad. If my dad can do it, everyone, you can definitely do it.
Yeah.
Love
So
my
just so you
dad.
know, if Chris's dad can do it, that's the new litmus test. Send us anything you want Chris's dad to try. If he can do it,
Right?
it's
He is my pulse on like the real like mainstream, wonderful Joes and Janes out there that are just like living that what we would call normal everyday life, whatever the hell that even means anymore.
seriously.
And I gave him it's not, obviously not, I didn't give him this. I encouraged him to just do 3 breaths before falling asleep every night, long, slow breaths, all through the nose if possible, or in through the nose, out through the mouth, whichever is working for you. And he's been doing that for like the last 3-4 years now, and passed it on to my grandmother. And these are just, again, tiny little things, but they make a big difference. And then they snowball because you're like, oh, you know what? I kind of like that. Maybe I'll try this. And then fast forward a year or two, and all of a sudden you're a completely different person with different practices,
What else can humming do?
Well, as far as this study, we've ended all the amazing scientific resources as to what humming can do, but bringing it back, it's like, what can't sound do? I think that's more the question, and the answer would be like, I don't know, because I'm pretty sure it can do everything, because everything is sound.
Because everything is sound. Yes. What a great answer, right? I mean, humming ticks all the boxes. We got oxytocin. We got the good hormones go up, the bad hormones go down. What more do you need?
Right.
And 9 out of 10 doctors. The one holdout being somebody we will not name.
50% of the time, it works every time.
Yes. I love it.
So yeah, it's just take this into your everyday life. Everybody, let us know in the comments how the humming is working out for you, how it feels. Of course, again, it's going to be very individualistic of how it works in your everyday life, and let us know if there's other modalities that are speaking to you and that have really, really helped you out. Because again, other people can learn from you too, not just us here hosting the podcast.
Right. People need to know. Right. So spread the word. Hum the word.
Hum the word.
Hums the word.
Hums the word. I love it.
Okay, so we're getting completely nuts here, but why shouldn't healthcare be fun?
Thank you.
Right? And and exciting, and all the things that happen, like in the breathwork meditation thing that you guys did last week. Why is it that health isn't that? Right?
But it is, in a way, because that's where we're moving. We're moving out of the allopathic, the Western, not to throw it out of the window. I think everything can't be fully thrown out of the window. We got to take some things. Western medicine's amazing for emergency surgery.
Right.
Western medicine has a lot. There are absolutely benefits. I'm not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater here, but however, and the Eastern practices, the traditional ancient practices, are very important and extremely multi-pronged, multifaceted, and holistic, and also, for the most part, almost all of it is free and pretty much powered by you and your body and the universe and reality. So if you're on a bit of a budget, I would recommend looking into these ancient practices.
He says,
ain't going to cost you anything.
Right?
Yeah, and again, I'm not downplaying the obvious importance of Western medicine. There are really important things, like I said, acute issues and acute surgery is really amazing. Now, I'd want to be in Western medicine for that. But anyway, so there's so many things, and that's part of the fun, is the journey of discovery, right?
And I'm going to go way out on a limb here and say that we absolutely recommend humming.
Yeah, I stand by it.
If you want to get the advice of your medical professional, your primary care physician about humming, send us the results of what that person tells you.
Please.
Because it would be, first of all, kind of fascinating to hear a doctor get in the way of saying, no, don't hum. Or most of them will probably scratch their head.
Never know.
So really curious. This is not medical advice. This is musical advice.
It's all sound.
It's all sound. So go get out there and start humming.
Yeah. Absolutely. Hum your life into harmony.
Into harmony. Yeah, hum into harmony. Look, we're going to brand this, try to sell it. No, we're not, because we're not that
It
people.
sounded like a slogan, though.
I know it did.
I love it.
Hum yourself
I love it.
happy. Okay.
That's a good one, too.
That's a good one. I don't know. It's a good one. It's one. Somebody also, by the time the next time we record, somebody will have patented this and put a trademark on the letters HUM, and it'll be illegal because it's now somebody's intellectual property.
This is Bill's science fiction writer brain going.
Yes,
now.
It is. I'm sorry, you guys.
Black Mirror.
This is what happens.
I love it. This is how we get our awesome entertainment.
Black Mirror fogged up by somebody humming too close to it.
This is why I love these podcasts. I always get a good abdominal workout.
Yes, an abdominal. Thank you, brother.
Thank you too. And thank you all for tuning in today. We appreciate you. And I guess we'll catch you on the next episode.
Catch you on the next. And you know what? I'm going to report back in the comments or in the show notes about what Zoom's AI summary has to say about our podcast, right?
Those are fun.
Because they're always fun,
I love it.
Okay, we're out of here.
All right. Take care.
Aho, everybody.
Aho, everyone.